I am back from SummerSlam and my wallet resembles Baron Corbin's right now. But Vegas, man, you did not disappoint. I had a wild time over the weekend, but the main thing I was there for was SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer. Held at the all-new Allegiant Stadium in front of 50,000 WWE fans, and the first SummerSlam in front of fans since 2019, which ironically I was at too. The arena was packed and the card had some solid matches on it, but how good was SummerSlam 2021? And was it worth me dishing out over $1,500? Well, let's find out. The arena was packed, Nevadans were buzzing and ready to go, and we kicked things off with the perfect embodiment of every single Uber driver I had in Vegas, that being Matt Riddle. Him and Randy Orton were ready to take on Omos and AJ Styles for the Raw Tag Team titles, and they did just that and they took him home. Randy hit an RKO on AJ, and that was about it. This match really wasn't anything, and that was it for most of this pay-per-view. It was just there. Alexa Bliss's match was the normal idiocy we're used to, and I was just sitting there and it dawned on me that WWE has tried so hard to make women's matches not be a piss break, but they give us this. Basically, everything they've been trying to tell you about this women's evolution the past few years is complete BS. Like, you had Eva Marie on the card, but there were so many other talented people who didn't even get a lick on the main show. Then it was time for the United States title to be on the line. Sheamus versus Damian Priest, and this match was easily a top 3 match of the night. These two went back and forth, and Sheamus caught Priest with a huge knee to the face. Priest ripped off Sheamus's mask, but in the end, it was Damian Priest as the new United States champion. And all I can hope is that WWE moves forward with Priest because the dude has star written all over him. The next Hispanic star is right there in Damian Priest. He's just got that natural swagger and he's easy to like, so hopefully they do not miss with him. Then they rolled the trailer for WWE 2K22 and I was like, alright, sick, here we go. They're gonna announce it for like October. The graphics look great and hopefully they fix everything that made 2K20 absolute garbage. But March, are you kidding me? You have a pay-per-view sponsored by a game that is coming out in March of 2022. Man, this game better be good or I swear 2K is gonna be in the mud even more. Up until here, the pay-per-view was pretty average. There was no show-stealing match, nothing really noteworthy had happened, and my section was completely dead. Like, this was the most unhyped group of wrestling fans I had ever been surrounded by. The Mysterios versus the Usos is up next, and as usual, it's a solid match. Rey at 46 is flying around like it's nothing. There's near falls, 619s, frog splashes, but in the end, the Usos walk out with the win. Man, there was just something really missing from this show, and I don't know what it was. I was like, this show is not enjoyable. These matches feel like house show matches. I went to Stomping Grounds 2019, and if you guys have seen that show, that's a pretty average show, but I was thinking to myself, I enjoyed that show way more than I'm enjoying this show right now. The randomness then continued when Boogs and Nakamura came out to randomly dance, and I was like, man, this show is ever dragging. Somebody help, somebody do something. And we were in need of something big, and luckily that was coming. It was time for Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, a WrestleMania rematch that everyone had been looking forward to after they stole the show. They played the video package and out came Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair, the same woman who despite repeat matches and stupid booking had come out on the better side of it and had become a fan favorite and universally beloved. The woman who won this year's Royal Rumble and had been on a tear ever since. Here she came. Then it was announced that Sasha Banks would not compete in that match and she was replaced by Carmella, and the fans in Allegiant Stadium, they were annoyed. Carmella again for like the 50th time. And just as the bell is about to ring, Out comes Becky Lynch, and Allegiant Stadium was losing their shit. Finally, after over a year, the man was back, and she wanted the SmackDown Women's Championship. She threw out Carmella, and Bianca accepted the challenge. And the building was buzzing. We were about to get a dream match, and probably one which was going to be spectacular in the ring. As the bell rings, Becky hits Bianca with a punch, a rock bottom, and it's 1, 2, 3. Becky Lynch destroys Bianca Belair in seconds. The building was in shock. I mean, I don't know what WWE was doing here. I get that Sasha not being there put them in a weird position, so they produced Becky Lynch, but this was not it. Like, I don't know if they didn't trust the match or they feared Bianca getting booed, but this did Becky Lynch no favors, nor did it Bianca. What exactly are you doing here? You have Bianca Belair, who is doing so well, had a great title run, connected with the fans, put on great matches, and you pissed it all away in seconds. In a time where WWE is failing to make new stars, doing this just further proves the holding pattern that they're stuck in. They just can't get the women's division away from the 4 horsewomen. Like, you literally had Becky Lynch say, "Let's tear the house down," and then delivered a dud. All WWE did was ruin the momentum of an up-and-coming star at a returning star's expense, and now it's a muddy situation. But having Becky back on SmackDown just loads up SmackDown even more, and it's gonna be fun to see where SmackDown goes. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal was next. Nothing special. The crowd was absolutely dead after that Becky Lynch return. Nothing of note in this match. McIntyre took the dub. We move on. We kept with Raw as Nikki ASH, Charlotte, and Rhea fought in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. And this match, it was good. Like, it was sloppy at points. You could see the women waiting for the others to come in and do their spot. But of course, Charlotte won again. And man, this stat padding is crazy. Nikki's run with that title was yet another waste of the Money in the Bank briefcase. And like I said before, WWE just cannot escape this love affair with the 4 horsewomen. It's just the same rinse and repeat cycle they're on, and it's really hurting that women's division. Man, up until this point, the pay-per-view had really dragged. Like, sure, it was in a huge arena, the crowd was pretty good, but it just felt like it was there. I felt like I was at a house show with extra fans. No match had really stolen the show, and there had been questionable booking decisions throughout the show. But now it was time for Edge versus Seth Rollins, a dream match 7 years in the making. After weeks of going back and forth on the mic and delivering us a phenomenal story, it was time for these two to lay it all on the line. Out came Seth Rollins dressed as the bellhop at my hotel. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was a tribute to Michael Jackson. But then I look up at the ramp and they're pushing up this huge platform, and I'm like, alright, Edge is about to do some sick ass shit here. This man slowly rises up through the platform as fire surrounds him and the Brood theme plays. I had chills. That entrance was amazing. He had the shades, he had the natural Edge swag, and then Metalingus hit and the arena lost its shit even more. Edge brought this electricity to the ring with him, and now it was time. These two went back and forth, and the story of the match was simple. Edge had to escape Rollins at all costs. He could not get stomped or else it was over. And these two, they stole the show. They were hitting top rope moves, spears through the ropes, submissions, counters on counters. We saw it all until Edge locks in the Educator and Seth Rollins taps out. Edge had summoned the evil of his past, and man, oh man, thank you to Edge and Seth Rollins for that match. This was a match I had wanted to see for years, and there I was in section 114 with the biggest smile on my face, and I had chills. I couldn't believe that we actually just witnessed this match, and I couldn't believe that, hey, Edge is actually wrestling again. It's still surreal to think of. Now it was time for the WWE Championship to be defended. Bobby Lashley against Goldberg, and the crowd was not digging Goldberg. They were cheering Bobby at every turn. No one wanted to see 54-year-old Bill Goldberg walk out as the WWE Champion. And Goldberg looked really bad in this match. Like, man, it's probably time for you to hang him up. Please. Like, he almost made Lashley land on his neck at one point. Lashley would hit spears, and this man would go into this weird position to the point where he couldn't take the move, or I don't know if it was a botch. The whole match was just kind of a mess. Somewhere in this match, Goldberg injured his leg, and the match was called off. Your winner by ref stoppage was Bobby Lashley, and then he went to town on Goldberg's leg and put the hurt lock on Goldberg's son. We're probably getting this match again at Saudi Arabia, and God help us all. Boring match, boring feud, and so far, a pretty boring pay-per-view. Now it was time for the reason I went to SummerSlam in the first place. It was time for me to finally see my childhood hero. The man who I had never seen in person. The man who some of my best memories are tied to, and the man who was the face of WWE for 10 years. John Cena. Out he came and the building was going wild. The 16-time world champion was in pursuit of his record-breaking world title. John Cena comes down, and this guy's entrance, man, I had chills. I just stood there and I just looked at the ramp, and finally I heard the time is now. I cried a little, I cheered at the top of my lungs, I was bouncing up and down like a child. I was like, man, there he is. Finally, after 18 pissing years, I finally get to see my childhood hero, and I never thought the day would come. It was just surreal. It's a moment that I'm never gonna forget. Then out came Roman Reigns, and as sick as his entrance was, my eyes were still on John Cena. I just couldn't stop looking. I was in awe. I felt like a child again. And then the match began, and Reigns was dominating, and I was like, oh no, here we go. We're getting Brock vs. Cena 2.0. But Cena, as he said he was gonna do, was looking for the 1, 2, 3. He was trying roll-ups, he was going for the cover after the simplest of moves, but it didn't work. Attitude adjustment, but no. Another one, and Reigns kicks out at 2.999. They had me, man. I was biting. I thought Cena could actually do it. Up until this point, my throat was done. But these two men weren't. Reigns goes for Cena, but he counters. Cena counters what Reigns does. Cena puts Reigns through the table with an AA, but no, it still doesn't work. Cena then gets a little cocky and he tries to go for the spear, but no. Reigns hits one spear and that's the end. John Cena had lost and the tribal chief reigns supreme. I saw a lot of people criticize this match, but honestly, it was what it needed to be. It was hard hitting, they tried to make you bite on the falls, and in the end, Reigns got the rub. And I'm happy for Reigns. I just can't wait to see him continue rising and rising. And shout out to John Cena, man. He made this feud personal, he made us excited for this match, and he further proved why he is a GOAT. Reigns stands tall over a prone John Cena, and then we hear... For the second time in the night, Allegiant Stadium loses its mind. Me and my buddies were jumping up and down, we were hugging each other because Brock was back. Ponytail and all, looking like he had just finished herding some cows, and he was here for Roman Reigns. And man, what a confrontation this was. It was tense, and it had the built-in story with Heyman intertwined between Reigns and Brock. But man, this return capped off an average pay-per-view. My thoughts on this pay-per-view are that it was really underwhelming. Aside from the return of Becky and Brock, it was just there. The matches felt like house show matches, and even the best match wasn't that much above everything else. Obviously, the only reason I really went to SummerSlam was to see John Cena, and that was great. It's an experience that I'll never forget. Vegas was a great time, and I think being in the arena for this event made it more memorable than it actually was. I thought it was average, and it focused on moments rather than building on stories or in-ring matches. Sure, the moments were huge, and you could say it was a counter to what AEW did, but if I'm rating it, I give it a 6 out of 10. Definitely had a lot of hype going in, but in my opinion, it didn't deliver. But what do you guys think? What did you think of SummerSlam 2021? I was blessed to have been there and enjoy it live, but I wish it was just a little bit better.